Dun, 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 dun. Hi girls, how are you? Okay, so this video is titled Other Areas of Possible Study, and that might be a little bit weird considering it's the first video that I'm sending you, but it's actually the last video that I'm making in this first kind of series of videos that's on my channel. So if you go onto my channel, you will see that I've made loads of videos about space, and I've made 4 or 5 videos also about sport, and I think the reason that I did that was because those were areas that girls in the teams had spoken about quite a bit, and there was lots of questions that they had that I really wanted to try to answer and direct you in a certain way, in a certain direction, so that you're not very confused about those areas. However, there is so many possibilities with this project, and I just can't contain my excitement. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fly through just some other options of areas that you can study. And I want to be really clear that the videos that I'm sending you are just starting points. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just kind of directing you in the correct in the area of study, suggesting a lot of things, and then possibly it's up to you after that to find out as much as you can about it. And obviously I'll be here to help you, but it's up to you. But I really want us to get stuck into this. So let's get into it. So it's just some possible other areas are one of them is roller coasters. Roller coasters would be a really cool topic to look at. I think, what could you create? Well, you could maybe create a little model of a roller coaster where it tests out all the different mathematical principles that work in roller coasters. There's a really cool video in the link. It's a little bit old. It's from probably the 70s or the 80s, but it explains this idea here, centrifugal force, really well. So centrifugal force is the force that when you go around on a loop like this, it's the force that actually keeps you stuck to the outside of the roller coaster so that you don't fall when you get to the middle. And the weird and interesting thing about centrifugal force is that Newton's laws of motion, which I've created 2 videos about, they actually, to a certain extent, don't really work. Centrifugal force kind of overcomes Newton's laws. They do work to a certain extent, but it kind of contradicts it a certain amount as you go around in circles, and you're subjected to different kind of spins and twirls and corkscrews and all these things that you will see on roller coasters. So there's a huge amount of maths in roller coasters, and you could get really stuck into that. I think you could do a wonderful project on that. Another one that I heard about was self-driving cars. Girls were asking about this. Now, I was a little bit concerned about self-driving cars. The reason was that I just had no idea where to go with it. I didn't feel like I could direct you in the best possible way. Well, that was until recently when I met a guy who works for BMW, and it was super exciting. So his job at the minute is to design a new camera for a self-driving BMW car. He works as part of a team. I have his email address. I told him all about you. So if you want him to be your expert, then absolutely, we can get into that. I asked him all about what's his biggest challenge with creating this new camera for self-driving cars, and he says, well, he deals every day pretty much with the laws of thermodynamics, which and heat dissipation. So what happens when you heat it up? Well, when you heat it up, it expands. His camera has to be absolutely teeny tiny. He has to work within tolerance of 12 microns, which is absolutely ridiculously small. So what he has to do is he has to design basically the casing in which the camera will fit, and he has to do it within 12 microns. He has to decide on what the best material is. He usually says aluminium is the best because it dissipates heat quite well, but is also very light and has all the properties that he likes and that he needs to carry out this to solve the problem basically as well as he can. But if I think he's on board with being our expert in that area in self-driving cars. So if that's an area that you wanted to go into, then absolutely You know, that's another option that you could go into. Then we looked a lot into music already, and I think one of the groups you've decided to do music, and if more than one group wants to do music, then that's absolutely brilliant. We looked at Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and how the use of triplets can create dissonance and consonance. This is all to do with ratios in mathematics, and how frequently a string will vibrate, and as it vibrates it creates sound waves, and those sound waves will be at a different pitch depending on the frequency in which it can vibrate. So we see here we have G2 is half the length of G1, so G2 is going to be an octave higher than G1, so we can work out all the different ratios for that. I've got another video that talks about the laws of fifths, or the rule of fifths, sorry, in music, and how they actually create the different notes on the scale. You know, and we can talk then about you know, consonance and dissonance, what makes complementary notes, and why would notes that create dissonance, why does that sound as if, you know, it kind of conflicts a bit? What kind of mood is created when you do that, and when you have dissonance in your music, and you know, why is that not as pleasing to the human ear, or why does it create a different feeling? That would be a really interesting thing to look at. One that I think will be very popular among other schools will be art, and kind of the golden ratio, and architecture, and the golden ratio, which is 1 is to 1.618. And I think this is if QE boys will do this, I'm nearly sure of it, because I know their teachers, I know how they're trained, and I know that they'll do a brilliant project on this. I think it's a bit, if you want to do it, it's fine, but I think it's a bit predictable, if I'm being honest. So I think if you're doing something with art, let's look at it from a different point of view. We could look at it from John